Namaste to all. Welcome to a session on renunciation in daily life. Thanks to the Arshavidya Center in the Bay Area. And before we begin the talk, I will ask Raj and Meera, at whose invitation this talk has been organized, to say a few words.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Swamini. Vairagya is one of the topics that we've been studying for a number of years, and renunciation and mental renunciation particularly is of great importance through the studies we've been doing. So, but then putting into practice in everyday life is the biggest challenge. So, and several of us in our satsang groups have been discussing and studying these topics for the last few months, maybe a couple of years already, through Ashtavakra Gita, Saddarshanam, etc., etc. So I'm really happy that you've been doing similar talks. So I said this would be a nice request to make to see if the Nididhyasanam level talk could be arranged. And I'm really, really happy that this can be done. And I'm sure our people who are satsang groups will be appreciated. Officially, it is on satsang groups that, satsang groups are at different levels. So some of us are at this level, others are still going through the sadhana build up and things like that. But I'm sure that your group here obviously looks also very senior level students. So they will also appreciate this talk. Again, thank you very much for taking the time to do this talk. Did I understand?
Well, we're just really grateful to you, Swaminiji, for being with us and helping us and guiding us on our journey. It's really a wonderful experience for us, and we're so grateful to you.
Thank you. It's a honor and a joy to be with all of you. And this is the time of the pandemic, and we have more fun this way, strangely, than in the kind of gatherings that we used to have. So, what I think, in a way, the pandemic has helped to spur people more into the kind of renunciation of which today's topic is going to touch, the inner renunciation. Because when all the outer possibilities are blocked or locked, then this is the option. That is why we call it the Karuna virus instead of the coronavirus. Karuna means compassion. Yeah. Thank you so much.
So just one quick, I presume everybody will mute their lines and then enter their questions to the chat window. Is that the normal practice?
Yes, at the end we will have time for questions, and you have two options. Everybody has two options. Either you can unmute yourself and ask, because that's a little quicker than typing it, and sometimes people don't even know there is a chat box. So that might be one option. Or you can write it in the chat pod. That is also another option. So you can mute yourself, but keep your video on, because it will be nice to look at you. And so that will be nice. Okay, you don't have to turn off the video. All right. Yeah. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Namaste, Swami.
Namaskar, everybody. Yeah.
Swaminiji.
Namaskar. Lovely to see you. And at the end of the talk, we will have a little time to engage. ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The question or the topic, the subject matter of renunciation is in a way very endearing. It is endearing because that is the destiny, the culmination of the. It is both the culmination of one's spiritual journey, and it is also the way. It is both the means and the end. That's why there are, for these two reasons, it is extremely endearing, the whole subject of renunciation. It's also something that is very shrouded in mystery, a kind of a spiritual romanticism, because the idea of letting everything go, frankly, the idea of letting everything go is extremely inviting. It is inviting precisely because there is this daily grind, same old, same old. Pun intended, same mold. And because one is just cast in a particular kind of a mold. The roles are there, and then those roles are soon they gather a certain kind of, they gather some calluses. They become calloused, and they become, one becomes weary. In fact, the roles have a way of overpowering the I, the person. So the person rolls into the role. there seems to be no difference at all. And as a result of this, there is great consternation. There is strife, both an inner Kurukshetra as well as an outer Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra means a battlefield, as we know. So there is an inner Kurukshetra, there is an outer Kurukshetra, there is a confusion. And that's why whenever there is the topic of renunciation, and people find the time to attend. If you advertise something, Bhagavad Gita, yeah, been there, done that, there is a complacency. Upanishad, yeah, little more exotic perhaps, but yeah, it's not, who has the time to study or such a long time? Keno Upanishad, minimum, what should I say, minimum 1 month of study. Mundaka Upanishad, 3 months of study. If you do it with Bhashya, all these things. Well, it's nice, but this is not for me right now. And then you say renunciation. Yes, I'm there. And, and even overnight somehow the talk was advertised, and this is exactly the desire for being able to drop the roles. And drop is not easy. And drop means what? Drop the roles means what? Who am I without these roles? That's a very important question. An extremely important topic. Who on earth am I without these roles? And how to drop? Because there is the concept of duty. In Sanskrit, this is called swadharma, which is extremely drilled into one. One has to do this duty And one has to, and this is a lifelong thing. It is not like you do the duty for 5 minutes and then after that you can do other things. No, it's a lifelong commitment. It's very difficult to drop. And that's why I always say the expression householder is a very suspect expression. It's a suspect phrase, because if one is holding something, if I'm holding a flower, I'm a flower holder, let us imagine, and then I can drop the flower. Householder, you say, okay, if you're holding the house, you drop the house. No, 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 no. How to do this? And so that means one is not a householder, one is house held, duty bound. And yes, we keep hearing things like karma yoga. We keep talking about it. In fact, the word karma yoga, as soon as one hears, there is a certain feeling of jadedness that comes. Yeah, been there, done that, been there, done that, but it's really not making any difference to me. So we have heard of all this. And we have also heard something which is very central to the Vaidika Dharma. And what is that? Work as worship. About that also we have heard. Very much we have heard. But then that seems to be more of a, what's its name? An abstraction. And even though renunciation seems to be much further away, that is what attracts, because that really is the destiny. It's not that one is an escapist and that's why this topic is attracting. No. It is because one is clever enough and one is connected enough to that part of the yearning, an inbuilt, non-cultivated, an uncultivated, inbuilt desire to be on this journey in this life and to also reach the pinnacle of success in this journey. And success is defined differently according to the call of this yearning, rather than in the definition of success in the universe. The universal definition of success, coming from one's own raga and dvesha, strong preferences and prejudices. The collective definition of success is how much have you been able to fulfill your desires? To what extent have you been able to ward off the things that in your life that you don't want? These are the measurements of success in the world. So a successful man or a woman in the world is someone who's been able to fulfill their desires, who've been able to ward off competition and hold their own, and has risen to power, fame, pelf, all these things. But that is not the definition of success in the Upanishads or in the Bhagavad Gita. That is far from the definition of success. Very, very far from the definition of success. There's a different definition of success, from the standpoint of the spiritual quest. And there, it is not to what extent have you been able to fulfill your desires. The definition of success, according to the texts such as the Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, etc., is to what extent are you able to be okay without fulfilling any desires. That is the definition of success. That despite things not going your way, despite things being completely out of your hand, despite being dealt with a bad set of cards, with which you cannot even start the life properly, still you are okay. Why? Because you have been able to rise above those desires. You have been able to, there is a person there. You are not just a ball of desires, even though sometimes it feels like that. Like I'm just a big, ball of desires. I always give this example of a kitten playing with a ball of yarn. And then you leave the kitten with the ball of yarn. And then after that, what? After that, you come back into the room, and then you don't know where is the kitten and where is the ball of yarn. It's one big ball because it has become one with the ball of yarn, the kitten. And so this is how the person is. Toys around with the ball of yarn, which is which is this area of desires and desiring, and then appears to be hopelessly and helplessly entangled in this ball of yarn, ball of desires. Only with one difference. In case of the kitten, it looks cute, okay? Yeah, and then, but not in the case of this complaining jiva. It is uncute at best, not cute at all. Struggling, 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 striving, striving, striving. And then the desires, see, in the tradition, we have all these asuras. In fact, the word asura itself is the one who keeps indulging in the sense objects is called asura. Asushu ramante iti asuraha. Asu means the sense objects. So the one who just revels in the sense objects, whose main purpose is to fulfill all kinds of desires from A to Z. That is the one that is called as asura. So we have so many asuras. They are not devil. They are not a parallel reality to Ishvara. They are just devotees gone wrong. Devotees who have no way of, somehow something has hijacked these devotees and they have no way of calling themselves back onto the path. They are what are called asuras. And in the Devi Mahatmya, there is there is one asura called Raktabija Asura, whom the goddess sends home, makes short shrift of this kind of a demonic being. And who is this Raktabijasura? This Raktabijasura is very interesting, because it is said that if somebody tries to slay him and a drop of blood falls on the ground, another one is cloned immediately from that genetic material in the blood. Yeah. And so immediately another one is cloned, and then so imagine, so you can't really kill him without giving rise to an army of them. Oh, this is a very difficult proposition. Indeed, it is. Especially if we understand the allegory of this asura, the metaphoric, the presence of this asura, what it signifies, the symbolic significance here is that the Raktabija asura is in the form of intractable desires. It's not desire for food, clothing, shelter, or even to see a movie. Sometimes we are not talking of, these kinds of desires, which makes life a little more interesting and, which gives some happiness. That's not what we are talking about. We are talking about intractable desires. What my Guru Pujya Swamiji used to call binding desires. Desires that weave a web around you, like even a spider. A hapless fly goes, and then the fly is curious. Oh, nice little thing. Let me see what it's like to sit on that. And then it is made into a cocoon, burrito. Yeah, fly burrito. And the spider enjoys. This is what it is. And this is exactly the web of desires. They, they slowly surround you. First, you think you are the master, you are the Swami, because, confronted by the desire, it seems harmless enough. Oh, I can just dally in this and then come out. Just put one toe in it. And then what happens? There is a suction there. The toe is sucked. Oh, I need help to get the toe out. Kind of a quicksand effect. I think I need to use my hand to get the foot out, because now the toe has become, the whole foot is being sucked into. Now the one hand and toe is also being sucked, and then the other one, and pretty soon the whole person goes. This is exactly the situation. And therefore, and the person is intelligent. Any given person knows. The fly may not know that it is about to become, spider food, but the person, the human being, endowed with uninhibited self-awareness, is aware of these traps, is aware that, okay, I'm going down this chute, and I'm going down this chute. And that's why, this is a little aside, that's why the name of Lord, one of the names of Lord Krishna is Achyuta. The one that doesn't go down the chute is called Achyuta in English. So this is just a fun fact, okay? Yeah. চ্ಯುತಿhi na vidyate yasya. চ্ಯುತಿhi means fall. So that's why in English I converted into chute. Okay, very similar. So this, the one who doesn't, this is the definition of the Lord, of the goddess. This is the definition. The one that is not falling for anything. And then this Lord, as expounded in the Upanishads, is not away from you. There are many stages to understand this. First, we understand Ishvara as the Lord of the universe, Goddess as the Shakti of the universe, who is in charge of all the things that are happening, including in the life of this hapless, hopeless, helpless jiva, individual who seems disconnected. So first stage is that awareness, and the steps the steps that one takes to connect. That is a very important stage of discovering oneself as a devotee, prayer, etc. Then the second step is to understand, if one is ready to go beyond that, the second step is to understand that whatever I am looking at is Ishvara alone. This step is described as Ishvarizing the entire universe. Here an Ishvara, there an Ishvara, everywhere Ishvara, Ishvara. Yes, and what are you? Old Mac Jiva. Okay, that this is what it is. And then so old means not age-wise. Okay, this is not an insult. Old means has been around. Last time also same thing happened. This time also same thing happened. And if steps are not taken, next time also same thing will happen. What is this same thing? Getting trapped in this web. That is the same thing. Same old thing. And so therefore, so the second step is the Ishvarification of the universe. Are these real words? Ishvarization, Ishvarification? Certainly they are. Yes, they may not have made the dictionary now, but perhaps in the next generation they might. Just like so many Indian words. We use the word pakka. That was a pakka Indian word, but now it has made it into the dictionary. Yeah, everybody understands what is pakka without needing to this thing. And then that film came out. What is that? I didn't see it, but I saw the pictures of this picture. Blue beings, Avatar. Avatar, it was called. And of course, Americans don't pronounce it like that. How do they pronounce it? Avatar. And so I was actually very grateful to those people who released this movie, because since then I don't have to explain the concept of Avatara at all. As soon as I say Avatara, some kind of spuranam takes place in the head, in the heart. People understand. Fantastic it is. Awesome. And so like this, the Ishvarification of the universe is done. That is the second step. And that also, these two steps are part of what is called Karma Yoga. And very briefly, just a very brief synopsis of what it is, if there is anybody who wants a revision or who wants to just understand Karma Yoga in 3 sentences or less. Very briefly, it is to query It is to take this concept of duty and everything that has to be done from the standpoint of one's place in the scheme of things. That is the first aspect of Karma Yoga, to take that seriously. And it's like if one is a parent, it becomes very apparent that one is not simply reproducing the next generation, because that next generation of people are going to be citizens of a particular country. They're going to be citizens of the world. They have their own karma. They are going to contribute in certain ways. So, what you do is not just your own life. That is the first tenet of Karma Yoga. The second tenet is that you cannot do it by yourself, because you are not you are not alone. You are battling against so many variables. Some of them you can control, certainly. Certain others are beyond your control. They are called hidden variables. And those hidden variables is just another name for Ishvara. When you don't know what else to say, you say hidden variable. But it is Ishvara, it is Bhagavan. It is your own karma coming back and standing in the way of whatever you want to accomplish. That is and so therefore, this hidden variable has to be calibrated, has to be taken into account. And taking that into account means forging a relationship with that hidden variable or the source of the hidden variable. Ganesha in the form of obstacles, or any other form of Ishvara that one likes to worship, that one likes to connect to. And then, so Ishvara here is literally dragged in as a proxy actor. Because you, who are the master of the universe, you are the one who is giving me the ability to act. So you bring in Ishvara as an actor. And then what? Then, of course, the results of action are not in your hands. And whatever the results of action come, they are prasada. No translation for the word prasada. Prasada, you can say at the most. That's all. That's the translation. Receiving whatever comes with an attitude of glad acceptance. And right now, glad might be a far cry, but okay, acceptance. You can grumble, you can cry, you can say, "What? You gave me this? Are you out of your mind?" And that itself becomes a prayer. It is not blasphemous in our tradition to say that. to tell Bhagavan, "I just don't like this at all. What have you done? Are you out of your mind? And look at what you gave to the other person. Why can't you give me those kinds of goodies?" This all becomes prayer. It becomes growth. That acceptance becomes growth. And the focus on this duty, which is so much instilled and drilled in our culture, in our, in the very fabric of this culture, it becomes a means for growth. Because if one is busy doing what needs to be done, there is no time, no place to do what is not to be done. No time, no place at all. And so so one doesn't swerve from the path of dharma. That is the third component of Karma Yoga, that one sticks to dharma no matter what. One becomes someone who is unable to transgress what is right, what is samanya dharma, what is appropriate in any given situation, vishesha dharma, and then what is appropriate for me, swadharma. One is unable to transgress. One gets a PhD in dharma. This is Karma Yoga. And then one becomes ready for the knowledge that helps in this next stage, which is renunciation. And that is exactly how this whole thing is. So the Karma Yoga, all these things, the Ishvarification of the universe, connecting to Ishvara in the form of my work, offering my work as a form of worship. Everything I do is a flower at the feet of the Lord. This is exactly this is exactly karma yoga. And one has to do it gladly, one has to do it on time, in a timely fashion, because it's all an offering. Just like when you do Naivedya, pranaya swaha, apanaya swaha, you don't give the 3-day old food, a half eaten bar of chocolate after 3 days, you don't say pranaya swaha, apanaya swaha. that's wrong. That's bad. It just feels wrong. Even if you don't know ABC of Hinduism, it feels wrong. No, that doesn't sound right. Anybody will say. Similarly, the work that needs to be done today, if you do it, 5 years later, it's just like offering leftover food. So one becomes, ready. One becomes ready to get to the place of letting go. Here is where this is a cusp of great excitement, great inner growth. At the same time, it's also like everything else, it is a mixed blessing. Because even though I'm ready, I'm not able to take the first step. Oh, what about this? What about that? What about my duties and, all these things? This is the problem. It is illustrated very well in a story in Ramana Maharshi's life. A man, a middle-aged man, who said, my daughters are settled, my son is earning, they are all settled, married and settled, and then, the what else, my wife is okay, and everything, we are blessed with means, so I'm retired now, and so can I have your permission to take sannyasa? Sannyasa means renunciation, outward renunciation, where one lets go of all duties and roles, and then one may perform roles, but it's not the same way as before. One lets go of the duties and then takes to a life of a mendicant. And then, do I have your permission? He sat at the feet of Ramana Maharshi and asked this question. And Ramana Maharshi, who rarely spoke, looked at him and then finally said, "No, you may not." The man got very angry. The man said, "How dare you say this? What's wrong with me doing this? And you also did the same. You left home at a young age, and then you went and meditated in caves, and then after that you went to Tiruvannamalai, which is a place with a big Shiva temple, and then it is associated with Ramana Maharshi and his tapas there, and then you went to Tiruvannamalai, and I know what you did because everybody talks about this. You took a holy dip in the tank of water in the temple, and then you cut off your sacred thread, you cut off the tuft of hair, and then you were going to walk out naked from this pond. But the temple priest, who had great regard for you, gave you a piece of cloth to cover yourself and said, please, do this, and you don't have to walk out like this. You stay here and bless us. This is what was told, and you did all this, and who are you to tell me not to do this? And Ramana Maharshi very quietly said, yes, my dear sir, I did all this. But I did not ask anybody's permission to do all this. This is what it is. This is exactly, the story is, I just love this story. Because this whole thing about, this concept of obedience to some kind of a thing. In fact, the jiva is a rebel. The jiva is an imposter. The jiva is very hypocritical. This jaded, faded jiva is very hypocritical. On the one hand, oh, I'm bound by the duties and I have to ask permission and then I have to, do this, etc., etc. I have to follow the rules. Pretends to be a rule follower while being completely irreverent and rebellious where the raga dvesha following is concerned. So given a chance, Are you going to follow what needs to be done, or are you going to follow the raga dveshas? A person's tendency would be to follow the raga dveshas, especially if there is a conflict between what is to be done and what I want to do. Definitely there is a struggle, and definitely the tendency is to want to follow what one wants to do. This is interesting. But then, there is a veneer. Oh, I have to follow rules and I have to ask for permission and I have to do this. It's not asking for permission. It's not any kind of obedience. It's not any kind of humility. It's the desire for validation. It is the desire somebody should say, Shubham Astu. Oh, may everything be Mangalam. And may you be okay. It's a form, it's a begging for validation. It's a begging for appreciation. It's an approval seeking measure. That means what? That the karma yoga is still not finished its tenure in the life. Because that is what karma yoga is. You don't sit and collect thanks all the time. You don't say, oh, this is what it is, this is what it is. You don't say that. And then, even though we know this, we know, oh, the Krishna is doing everything, Bhagavan is doing everything, we say this. At least we say this. That is good enough to bring in the awareness. I'll never forget a story. One person told me, I think she's here today. And, she said to me once that, she had to make a lot of puris, these fried things, very delicious and terrible for health, but nonetheless, people love them. And then, so she had to make a lot of this for some big occasion. And then, she said, she expressed how tired she was after this. And she had been teaching the grandchild. She had been teaching her grandson. I mean, this was many, many years ago. And so she had been teaching her grandson, Krishna does everything. You are not the doer. Krishna does everything. And this child had a very pertinent question. Grandma, how come you are so tired? Oh, because I did so many puris. Well, Krishna made the puris. How come you are tired? A fantastic question. I'll never forget this incident. It was just so beautiful. And so this is how it is, gems fall from the mouth of children because they don't censor things, and they take everything that is said seriously. They are not jaded. This is something amazing. And so therefore this whole question of renunciation is becomes an approval seeking mechanism. Even in my spiritual growth, I want somebody to approve and show me the way. That doesn't happen. That is why in the Puranas it is said, Yad aharam vrajet, tad aharam eva parivrajet. This is a fantastic saying, which means the day you feel like leaving everything, that is the day, please leave everything and walk away. Because I think the sages knew, if you say, okay, I think I'll do this tomorrow, and one thing we know about tomorrow, what is one thing we know about tomorrow? It never, ever, ever comes. It never comes. So tomorrow doesn't come. And if tomorrow doesn't come, then what will happen? There will be definitely a kind of a, back and forth. Because the jignasa, the desire to study, the desire to leave everything in order to study, to make the room for study, is at the most a little flicker, like a glowworm. Now here, now not there, now here, now absent. This is the mumuksha, the desire for freedom from samsara. Mind you, samsara is not, in this jagat. Samsara is best, looked at as existing between the temples. That is where samsara is. Why do you say that? Because that is where samsara is recognized. And so, even though it looks very spiritual, to think about people climbing the Himalayas, matted hair, climbing the Himalayas, a little stick in one hand and a kamandalu, the water pot, in the other. This is, this looks very wonderful. And these days, it is neither possible nor necessary, really. Because you're supposed to repair to a wooded area. What have we done to our forests? There are no forests to repair to, period. And you see, in the generations that have come, the whole concept of sannyasa has also, in a way, evolved or devolved, however you want to look at it. Evolved or devolved. The kind of sannyasa my teacher followed is not open to me anymore. He's lived in a hut in the 60s in Rishikesh and ate, whatever came to him. This is how he lived for many, many years. But that is not an option. That is, that is not an option for the next generation. And the kind of sannyasa that is there in this generation may not be an option in the next generation. Maybe, maybe it will take a different turn, and the generations following that. So therefore we have, so in the ancient times, the I think this in the works like Jivan Mukti Viveka, which talks about sannyasa, Brihat Sannyasa Upanishad, Laghu Sannyasa Upanishad, Bhikshuka Upanishad, and another one called simply Sannyasa Upanishad. These are all small Upanishads that talk about this institution called sannyasa. And I say institution within quotes. And then, of course, you will say, for that, you say everything within quotes. So, yes, when you are a Vedanta teacher, everything is as though. Okay, yeah. Oh, the teaching is also as though. Yes. Teaching is also as though. So, I'm an as though student. Yes. Oh, and you are an as though teacher. Yes. Why? Because everything is all one. That's why. So, it's all as though. So now these Upanishads are our source, are our window to this very interesting quote unquote institution called sannyasa. And so there we find that there are certain very strict rules about how to live, what to do, what not to do. First of all, there are gradations of sannyasis, and this is a fantastic thing because everybody cannot be what is the far end of the continuum called avadhuta. So, what are the gradations? First, there is, I will explain each one. First, there is something called kutichaka. Kutichaka. Kutichara, it was earlier. Now it has, because of some maybe little apabhramsha, it has become Kutichaka. Kutichara means the one who lives in a hut. And so this is one of them. First, let's just list them and then we'll go into each one a little bit. Kutichaka, and then Bahudaka, second one, and then Hamsa, third one, Paramahamsa, and then Parivrajaka or something like that. The names change, and then finally Avadhuta. So this is the thing. So this is a fantastic categorization. And we'll see why. So Kutichara means because because everybody cannot be Avadhuta. So then Kutichara gives an opportunity for the person who is not qualified to be an Avadhuta, either because one doesn't have enough Vairagya, letting go, or because one is disbarred from it for other reasons. Like the person is Vikalangaha. Vikalangaha means cannot see, perhaps one limb is missing, cannot see. All the faculties are not there fully. And it is said also in the Upanishad that one may not initiate into sannyasa a person who has all these problems, like supposing they are not unable to see, they are paralyzed. But then the Shastras value that even a person in a wheelchair or a person who cannot see has the right to renounce. So what to do for such people? Kutichara sannyasa is prescribed. And what is that? You live in the compound of your own house, and then you give the house to the children, daughters, sons, whoever, let them live there. and they build for you a small place in the backyard, in the front yard, wherever. A small little kuti. That's how the word kuti chara comes, the one who is living there. And and your food is assured because whatever they cook, they bring you once a day. This is what it is. And so this is sannyasa, because even though you're living in the backyard, you don't go interfering in the day-to-day lives of the people in the big main household. You don't go and say, oh, the sugar, you are keeping the sugar in the wrong place. It should be kept over here. What? You have changed the brand of tea? Who told you that? This is what we have been buying for so many years. No. Oh, you've changed the paint. You're remodeling? Why? This is not okay. You shouldn't do all this. No. You just, when you ask for food, you also ask for some tape and you just put it on the mouth. That is what it is. Don't talk. And this is how the Kutichara, the Kutichara lives. This is how the Kutichara grooves, it is said. Seeing everything, he or she does not see anything. You allow them to raise their children however they want. Oh, but they are my grandchildren. No, they are not. Why? Because you are Kutichara. You have said in front of the 5 elements. It is also a proper sannyasa only. You are a Kutichara. You have said in front of the elements that I hereby renounce everything. I'm no longer in competition. I no longer have a say in all these things. Oh, so they are not my grandchildren? Not anymore. They are children that, yeah, technically they are your grandchildren, but really, internally, they are just children that you can delight in. Oh, but what if they're going the wrong way? And what if they're not being raised properly? Well, trust Bhagavan. That's what. Oh, but what if they really, what if the children want to come and ask for advice? Then it's different. But you don't drop a note in their mailbox. Perhaps you should seek advice. I'm available at 4:15 p.m. today. Bring some tea and snacks. You don't do that. This is not sannyasa. Okay? And this is fantastic. This Kutichara is wonderful. Because this is a way it gives me, when I look into this Kutichara form of sannyasa, it gives hope, because this is something that is very, very appropriate to the people living in this particular generation, in the complex lives we lead, and being house-held, unable to drop, the things, etc. And where to go, even if wherever you go, you need a house and you need some place to stay. May as well stay put, this is what it is. So this is the Kutichara. And then for those that are physically able, in the ancient times, there was there was the next kind of sannyasa called Bahudaka. Bahu Udaka. Udaka means water. Bahu Udaka means these kinds of sannyasis were found lingering in places where there was lots of water, ponds, rivers, and those were the sites of pilgrimage. And why pilgrimage? Because food is assured. The Puranas and the Upanishads are not so cruel that you are just to sit there and not be fed. So you go, this is a valid kind of sannyasa. You go where the people gather. You go where there are fairs, annual fairs. You go where there is, some kind of a festival. Ganga festival. So you go by the Ganga, lots of people come. You just put a chadar, you put a little bed sheet and sit down. And then food is assured. Or they give some money with which you can go get food. You will not go hungry. But then, oh, yummy, so I can have lots of food. No. The Bahudaka means every day you take 8 mouthfuls of food. And the rest of it, the money, whatever it is, you give away. Every day, whatever comes, you then at the end of the day, after you've had your meal, you give it away. Bahudaka. This is Bahudaka, and then you can go, and if you get tired of one particular holy place, you can go to another one, little change of things. Maybe if you're if you're in Rameshwaram, South Indian holy place, then you say, okay, I'm done with idlis. I'm idlied out, and I'm sambared out. Then you go to Punjab, and then you can enjoy some chole and all these things you can enjoy. And so you can do that. That is allowed. You can go from place to place and change. You can have a little bit of a change. So this is what is called bahudaka. And then after bahudaka, then we have the hamsa. That is the one. And the Hamsa is the one who, see, the first two is still, you are still part of the society, so to speak. In the sense that you are allowed to keep your sacred thread. This is just, for men. Women are also allowed to renounce, but we'll talk about that in a little bit after doing this ideal type, whatever, the classification. So then so then what happens? We have this Hamsa. So the first two, one is still allowed to keep the tuft of hair, which talks about what is that called? Which is a symbol of being a student of the Veda, being committed to Veda. And then one is still, one may or may not keep the sacred thread. It is not talked about. The Hamsa renounces the sacred thread and the what's its name? And the tuft of hair. That is what the thing is. And this is what the thing is. The Hamsa does not hang around in places, in the watering holes and the holy places of pilgrimage. The Hamsa is free to wander around and get bhiksha from certain pre-selected houses. This is what Hamsa is. Then after that we have Paramahamsa. And who is this? And of course, the 8 mouthfuls a day continues. That still is there. And then the Paramahamsa is characterized by giving up everything, including the begging bowl. Oh, then how does he or she eat? The hand is the begging bowl. And this is what is described in a wonderful text called Yati Panchakam. And Panidvaye Bhoktum Amantrayantaha. So these people make a little dish, a plate, out of the palms of their hands. And then whatever can be filled once or twice or sometimes 3 times, that is what they take. And even to this day, the Jain monks follow this Paramahamsa routine. And then after that, and the Paramahamsa is in the Upanishads is said to be extremely cheerful with an infectious joy around the person. You sit around the person and you're immediately feeling, happy. And you're immediately, it's like a contact joy. And then after that, the next one is Turiyatita. So the Turiyatita monk is like a cow. This is all the Upanishad's description. Why? Eats leaves, fruits, and roots like a cow. And then some days, the Turiyatita sannyasi is also allowed to eat cooked food. And then on the days that they eat cooked food, they can beg cooked food from 3 houses they have never been to before. Each time new. And if you exhaust all the houses in one village, time to push off to the next village. That is the idea. And then finally, the Avadhuta is the person who doesn't go for bhiksha at all. Just sits in one place, absorbed in Brahman, contemplative all the time. And then whatever comes, they eat. If nothing comes, they just, they just don't eat that day if nothing comes. So this is the traditional classification of the sannyasis. And then, in these Upanishads, these are what are called this is not my classification, but this is what in academia they say minor Upanishads. We don't make that classification: major Upanishad, minor Upanishad. Upanishad is Upanishad, okay? Yeah. So these are, but they still come under this canon of 108 Upanishads. And then, these are these are considered to be later interpolations, or during the 12th 30 12 between the 12th and the 15th century, etc. The historicity of it doesn't matter. What is interesting is that this is the code of conduct, and this is the kind of ways that are prescribed to this to the sannyasi. And we know from the Upanishad itself and from the Ramayana and Mahabharata that women were also allowed to renounce. And this is something that is reiterated in the beginning of the Jivan Mukti Viveka. Women and men, anybody can renounce. You don't have to take anybody's permission to renounce at all. You just have to be ready to face the fallout of your decision. That is on you. But you don't need to take anybody's permission. And this is what it is talked about. And so then we find in the Mahabharata Sulabha, the character of Sulabha. And who I don't know if it's in the Mahabharata, but somewhere there is a story narrated. There is the character of Sulabha. She was a sannyasi and wanted to come and have Vada Bhiksha. She wanted a debate with a king, Janaka. With the king Janaka, she wanted a debate, and then she came, and then of course Janaka had to wash her feet and receive her like a renunciant. All this is talked about. And then she won the debate basically, and Janaka was not very happy, but then he had to concede. Yes, I have lost this debate to you. He had to concede. And then so we have we have the we see that. And then in the Upanishads also we have these sannyasinis being called Brahmavadini, teachers of Brahman, and Gargi is a prime example of Brahmavadini. So this was something that is there. It is perhaps as the tradition got more and more patriarchal, and then it was also thought perhaps that it is difficult life for women to lead, and then so this kind of went out of habit. It was no longer there in the tradition. So this is something which is there. And so now so this is this is the general classification. Now we come to a very important question, to see that how can we use these kinds of sannyasas, whatever they are there. How can they inform? How can this institution of sannyasa? Many questions arise. Number one, how can this institution of sannyasa inform my life in the current time, in the present day? And then the next question, can I have the cake and eat it too? Can I just continue to live this life that I'm living and yet have sannyasa? I will not keep you in suspense. The answer for the second question is definitely yes. Definitely. So these two questions are very, very, and then of course the third question is, what will that look like in my life? And then people always say Vedanta talks are wonderful, but please don't go away without giving us day-to-day practical tips on how to do this, how to accomplish this. Day-to-day practical tips. And so these three things are very much, are very much of interest for us and pertinent for us to look at. The first question, of course, is, what does it look like now? Can I have the cake and eat it too? And what does it look like now? How can this institution of sannyasa inform me right now? Well, it teaches us many things. The first thing it teaches us is that moksha, the idea that I will be free, is not possible without sannyasa of some sort. It's just not possible. It's just not possible. You can continue to have the life that you are doing, but there has to be, if not outer renunciation, there has to be a strong desire for inner renunciation. That is very, very, very important. So, no vairagya, no dispassion, no sannyasa, no renunciation. Because in the word renunciation, which is the translation of sannyasa, the vairagya is already folded in. It is already folded in. So, what does this giving up look like? What do I have to give up? And in fact, the giving up is already practiced in our culture in many, many ways. You give up a lot. Just in order to get married, you give up a lot. And then you give up so much more in order to stay married. That is another whole set of things you have to give up if you want to continue to stay married. You have to make so many sacrifices. And then children come along, you give up even more. That is why the grihastha is the first step to sannyasa. Because you are already giving up. You know how to do this. It's not some kind of you don't have to read a book in order to know how to give up. Because you do this at home to keep the peace. Because, not even to keep the peace, sometimes just because you love the person. You love the person much more than you love the thing that you want. And because of that love, you say, just go have your way, no problem. It's okay. I didn't get my way this time. It's fine. You allow that. This is the same thing. This is what is the preparation for sannyasa. You are already on the way. This is very good news. You don't have to read Sannyasa Upanishad, and you don't have to say, you don't have to make a list of homes. Check, I have already begged in this place, and it's just as well I can't go there because their food is terrible and they are terrible cooks. So next one, you don't have to make a list. You don't have to do any of that. You already know how to do this. You already know how to be a sannyasi. You have already practiced it. If you are not, if you haven't practiced it in the same way as the kuti chakas, no problem. You're practicing it in your own way, in the way that makes sense to you, in the way that is pertinent to you, in the way that is relevant to you. You have given up so many things. And after giving up also, you have understood you are fine. You are absolutely fine. You have understood that you are not the sum total of the things that you have, including notions, ideologies, theologies, whatever it is. You have understood that. And you have also understood another thing, that you are not just the sum total of the people that you desire. You are not defined by the people that you love. You have understood that. And in fact, the definition of a Hindu marriage is that which you have outgrown. This is what it is. You don't ever have to leave the marriage. You just outgrow the need for the marriage. That is what is considered a successful marriage. And if you look at the grandparents, if you look at elderly grandparents, if you think about your own grandparents, then you find something which is very interesting. You never hear the grandfather say to the grandmother, I think we need to spend more time together. I think we are drifting apart. No, don't say that. And then, oh, you forgot my birthday. And no, you don't hear that as well. And in fact, in the traditional Indian household, the grandmother has her own life. She does her things, he does his things, he goes for a walk, she goes for a walk separately many times, or she doesn't go for a walk, or he doesn't go for a walk, doesn't matter. They hardly even, their lives do not even intersect. And then maybe they get together for meals. And then in the olden days, there was all these constrictions. They could not take each other's names out of respect. So they look at each other, you're still alive. Oh, good. Okay. That's all. That's all there is. And this is how even the worst of marriages was negotiated in a time where divorce was unheard of and all these things. There was a divorce, all right, Perhaps the bride who came, took one look at this fellow and said, I think this is just a write-off. This is not going to work. Perhaps she knew. But they were just, there is so much, there is so much, what's its name, support for this kind of an internal renunciation that nobody would care. If she spent her whole life in the puja room, it's okay, that's fine, that is what she likes to do. Nobody can come between you and Bhagavan, and so nobody would come between you and Bhagavan. And look at Mirabai, she's a case in point. She didn't go and don ochre robes. She was very much there. A princess, a queen in the palace, but had no desire for all this and just spent her time in the puja room along with her beloved Lord Krishna. She knew this already. And so like this, the whole culture pushes one to become the best that one can. The weight of the religious and the spiritual culture pushes one to seek their highest self. And the highest self is the self of all. This is the Atma. This is the Atman that one wants. And and abiding in which one is Sarvatma. Sarvatma means the Atma of all, sentient and insentient things. And so this is why the institution of sannyasa, even though that the institutional code of conduct may not be relevant, sannyasa is very relevant, because without sannyasa, it is not possible at all to get moksha, to understand that I'm already free. That is what is moksha from samsara. Then the second question, can I have the cake and eat it too? Absolutely. In a way, many of you are already doing that. And this is what is, described as kuti chaka sannyasa. Stay where you are. Withdraw mentally. And withdraw mentally. Withdraw also physically, okay? Yeah. Physically also withdraw. And where the organs of actions are still. When you feel like putting your paws into something, do namaste instead. Much nicer, and the hands are where you can see them. And it is wonderful. Very nice. Do namaste. Say namaha. And that's all it is. So you can have the cake and eat it too. The culture is inbuilt with those mechanisms. Because the sannyasa, generally speaking, is of two kinds, as talked about in the Bhagavad Gita. First is called the inner renunciation, the inner sannyasa. Sannyasa towards the karma phala. This brings us to point 3. How do I adopt it in my everyday life? So sannyasa towards karma phala. Karma phala means the result of action. So whatever comes, let it come. Just you can pray for courage to face whatever comes, and you are less and less invested in altering whatever comes. Why? Because you are the one that wants to be altered. That is why. And therefore, the altar of surrender has something which for you to offer. You surrender your desire to change the outcome of things in your life all the time. That is where the surrender is. Just fantastic. And so this is what is called karma phalatyaga in the Bhagavad Gita. Renouncing the results of action. Meaning, when you are you act, definitely, because without acting one cannot live. Oh, but I have desires. Fine. I want to fulfill them. Go try. Oh, but I can't fulfill them. Something is coming in the way. Let go. Why? Because no problem. You have many desires. If this does not work out, something else will definitely work out. What if that doesn't work out? Something else will work out. There is no shortage of desires and ambitions and goals to fulfill. You can be rest assured. Something will work. What if nothing works? Then go to an ashram. Okay, yeah. If nothing is working, immediately start taking Vedanta classes and live in an ashram. Definitely. That is, of course, that's a sign from the universe. You're made for sannyasa. That is a sign. Because nothing is working. It's Bhagavan's, gift. Other people, are tossing and turning and spending sleepless nights. Should I renounce? Should I not renounce? For you, it is very clear. Job not working, marriage did not work, and money, how do you spell it? And then peace of mind. Mind is in pieces. Okay, go to an ashram, study Vedanta, it will never fail you. This is your what is that called? Assurance. This is your guarantee. If everything stops working, go. Yad aharam vrajet, tad aharam eva pravrajet. Go immediately. This is Bhagavan is pushing you, sending you, closing all the doors. No more options. Wonderful. But that's an extreme case. Generally, something or the other works. And then, and many things don't work. This one is like Trishanku, in between. But so this is what is difficult. But here too, one starts by letting go of trying to manipulate each and every situation. One stops being a secret control king and a control queen. No control queen, no control king. Let it happen. It's okay. You tried. It didn't work out. Okay. Let it be. Oh, but somebody else got what I wanted. And then the second step is to wish them well. But how to wish them well? That requires a lot of growth. I don't have the growth. Well, here is a secret, Wish them well by knowing full well that whatever they have is finite. And you can put your feet in their shoes, and then you with viveka, with discrimination, you look at the situation. Okay, what did they get? Oh, they got what I wanted. And what was that? Maybe the job. Okay, what does this job entail? Lot of travel and lot of stress and lot of this thing. So you can see that what they have got is actually more trouble than it is worth. But what if it is not more trouble than it's worth? Because, and that is how everything looks. Everything looks shiny from this side. The grass is always greener on the other side. But if you look at it objectively, it is finite. It may look fine now, but then you have to practice adding "ite" to the word fine. It looks fine, but it is finite. And what do I want? Myself as the infinite. Keep reminding yourself. And it is easy to remind yourself if you are keeping on taking Vedanta classes also, because that practice of being in that Shravana situations, it's easy to let go. It's easy to let go. It's easy to let go. And then you can genuinely wish them well. Let there be few obstacles for you. May you excel in this. This is not what I want. Yeah, but I'm just saying that. Doesn't matter. It's important to say that. But I'm not feeling it. I feel like a fake. Actually, it's not a fake. What you really want is moksha. What you really want is to let go of all this. What you really want is to be with yourself. In fact, you're faking it right now without making it. That is why my guru said, fake it and make it, meaning as though fake it. You're not faking it if you want moksha. So it's important to make it into a social fact and acknowledge that really what I want is moksha. Tell yourself that every day. Even if it rings hollow, because the day is not far away when it is going to ring true. When you're going to wake up and say, yeah, I know I've been saying this all along, but today it's different. Today I just feel it. Today I'm connecting to this. It's just fascinating how that, and when that change will happen, you don't know. So therefore, this is a very important thing. You keep every day. The first thing when you wake up, usually the thought is, oh my God, what day is it? Oh my God, what do I have to do today? Replace that thought into what I really want is to be free of being a wanting person. Is to be free of being a wanting person. This is what I really, really want, is to be free. And then that is what will happen. That is exactly what will happen. Your prayer will definitely be answered, because this want, the final want of not wanting, is your destiny. That final want is the uncreated desire in order to no longer be a wanting, begging person all the time, wanting to manipulate situations, people, circumstances, things, etc., in order to get one desire fulfilled. So difficult. So every day when you wake up, replace the thought of what day is it? Oh my God, what is to be done? And what do I need to do? What do I have to do? Instead, say, what is it that I really want? I want Shanti. Every day the answer will be still different, little different. I want happiness. I want Shanti. And then you know that is all these are all synonyms for moksha. They're all identical with moksha. Shanti is moksha. Because Shanti is that Shanti when you don't have and when you don't want all these things. That is Shanti. Otherwise, there is a battleground in the crevices of the heart between what is this and what it is not. Then the next thing, which is very important, is to become familiar with this non-wanting person, with this appreciative, non-wanting, non-demanding, contented being who you already are. It's a matter of discovery. And this is where dhyana and nididhyasana as important sadhanas come into the picture. Very important sadhanas. They come into the picture precisely because of this. Because just like when you are buying a new house, first you get all the information, you get to know where it is located, and then you go visit it once. Then you come back, you forget it. Oh, did it have 3 rooms or 4? I forgot. Okay, I have to go look at it again. Oh, where is the dining room? Is it off the living room or is it off this side? I forgot. I have to look at it again. And then you familiarize yourself, and then you see how you and the things that you have fit into this new house that you are considering buying. Where will the furniture go? Where will the sofa go? You see, so far so good, right? Yeah. So where will the sofa go? Where will the furniture go? Where will the bed go? Will it fit here? Will it look nice here? Or do some changes have to be made? Do I need to downsize in order to be at home here in this home? So you have to familiarize yourself. And not only that, even before you move in, you say, okay, if you have children, you say, where is the school? What is the school district? Where is the school? And of course, everybody wants to know where the grocery shop is. And where are some restaurants in case you don't feel like cooking, and hoping the pandemic someday will come to an end, it is safe to go out and eat. So where are all these things? This is called getting familiar. And even after you move in, people ask, you have a housewarming, etc. You invite the people, and then, people ask, oh, this is, what is it like? I don't know yet. I'm still settling in. I'm still unpacking. Sometimes I'm still remodeling because certain things are not okay. And sometimes that can take up to a year of settling in. But you give yourself the time. Here too, just like moving into a new home, you are moving into a new you. This is what it is. You don't need anybody to give you this kind of sannyasa. You can give yourself this kind of sannyasa. Ooh, really? What does that look like? Take a bath, shower, pray, and then after the prayer, visualize the heart, the seat of the ahankara, the seat of the ragadveshas, dressed in an orange dhoti or an orange sari. Put this orange garb, which are the symbols of renunciation and self-knowledge. Dress yourself in that internally, mentally. Dress the inner being and the indweller of the body, mind, sense complex. Dress that every day. Just like you put the outer clothing, forgot. You will not be caught without the clothing. You won't go outside. It is embarrassing. Similarly, without the inner ochre robes, don't go outside. Definitely embarrassing and even dangerous. This little ritual of giving yourself an internal sannyasa every day, it's just so wonderful. Very, very wonderful. Even I do this every day. Even though the outer is dressed in orange, the outer is nothing. It's what is inside that counts. So this is a very important sadhana, and I can say from experience that it really, really helps to say, oh, I'm a sannyasi inside and out, and oh, I want to interfere here. My fingers are itching and twitching, but I'm going to do namaste instead. Om Namaha, how is your day going? Simple. This is what reminds you to keep your hands and your legs to yourself, to keep the karmendriya to yourself, to keep the sense organs to yourselves. This is what the Bhagavad Gita describes the person of knowledge. Yada samharate chayam kurmonganiva sarvashah indriyani mindriyarthebhyah tasya prajna pratisthita. Indriyani indriyarthebhyah tasya prajna pratisthita. That person's knowledge is said to be well established. The one who is able to de-link the mind and the sense organs and the organs of action from sense objects, from pursuing objects. Oh, but I'm not pursuing my objects. I'm telling my child who is 72 how to live. Stop. Okay. Yeah. Stop parenting. At some point, you have to stop parenting. Stop parenting at 50. Oh, when I'm 50, no, when the so called child is 50, please stop parenting. Okay. Yes, see how generous it is. It's a very generous timeline to get Vairagya. So this giving yourself inner sannyasa, the kind that Ramana Maharshi gave himself, is a very, very, very important practice. It gives simultaneously Viveka and Vairagya. Viveka means discrimination. This is what I choose. You are telling yourself every day, this is what I choose. And you're proactively choosing it. You're not saying, oh, I've become a sannyasi and I'm now stuck in begging 8 mouthfuls of food. What a miserable existence. No, you're choosing it daily. That's why you do it daily. You're choosing it. It's a proactive choice, and you won't go against your own value system. And this is where this is kind of a open-eyed nididhyasana, an open-eyed contemplative life, an open-eyed meditative life. Very, very important. Nididhyasana can be done sitting in one place and recalling the words of the Upanishad. Asangoham, 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 punah punah. You can recall the words of the Upanishad. But then that is not, that is one kind of nididhyasana. But nididhyasana in action, so to speak, living nididhyasana, daily nididhyasana includes also the repeated decision that one makes to cover oneself and one's thought process and the spiritual heart in orange, so that you are asanga. You practice that asangatvam every single day. And then you can even a very important mantra to repeat is, after every kind of a place where you feel like putting your 2 cents, tell yourself, this is none of my business. And it will be true. It will be really true. Just say, this is not my business. This is their life. This is their child. This is their problem. I can bless. I can pray. And then the last thing I will say is to drop, the hardest to drop is to drop the need of being needed. That is a need. That is unfortunately a need. I want to be needed, at least as an advisor. Hello, I have become an inner sannyasi. Come to me and take advice from me. No, nobody will come to you if you say that. Because this kind of an inner sannyasa shows. People are not stupid. They show. In fact, when you want something the least, you will get it. This is unfortunately the story of life. This is the reality of life. When you let go, it comes. Then what's the use? Exactly. What's the use? You can just enjoy it without wanting it. That is the use. That is the use of it. There's a very beautiful story told of a young boy, just very full of life, who was taking care of his ailing, bedridden grandfather. I'll close with this story. And he was taking care of this ailing grandfather, and then the grandfather, would ask him, was living vicariously through this young boy and asking him, "Where did you go today? Who did you see? Who did you talk to?" And this child had a habit, almost 8 or 10 years old. He had a habit of just swimming in the lake which was nearby the house. And then all the swan, the ducks, the herons would come to him. He would splash water on them. They would splash water on him. And he would have such a wonderful time. And he would go relate all this to the grandfather. This is what happened today. And he had named all the ducks and the swans and the herons, and they were all his friends. And the grandfather said, "Oh, I used to love these water birds so much. And now look at me. I'm in bed, can't do anything, can't go here, can't go there, can't have anything. I don't know what to do. And can you do me one small favor?" "What?" "Can you please bring me one duck, or at least a duckling, a swan? I just want to pet it. Can you bring me a swan or a baby? Small thing when can you can." And the child, eager to please the grandfather, says, "Yes, of course, granddaddy. I can bring, no problem. I can definitely bring. Just tell me where, when. Today, please bring. Or tomorrow, whenever you want, just bring. Bring one to me. I just want to look and see what it was like." Of course, this was a time before cell phones and FaceTime and all these things. You have to build all that into the story. And so the boy goes. Oh, he thought it's so easy to catch. But to his surprise, not a single water bird came to him. He called them out by the names. He looked in the bulrushes, thinking they were hiding. And where they were, God only knows. He could not find a single one of them. He went with his head hung, in disappointment. "Grandfather, they did not come today." And the boy was so dejected. The next day also his friends did not come to play, and the next, and the next. And the grandfather, being old enough, knew what was happening. He knew he had interfered in this beautiful, in this beautiful Leela, in this beautiful play of this non-wanting child being part of the whole ecosystem. And he was filled with regret, and he said, "Please go and enjoy yourself. Do not ever bring me anything other than the stories. Those are enough for me." And the child heaved a sigh of relief. And then when the child went there, all the water birds were back. They were all splashing and playing with each other. It's such a moving story, which illustrates this. If you have this inner sannyasa, people will definitely be drawn to you like magnets. But if you want people to be drawn to you like magnets, and therefore you want inner sannyasa, it is never going to work. Never going to work. So love and let go. and all the resentments, fears, whatever is there, just leave it at the feet of Bhagavan. Because after all, this is a psychological order. So the final thing I'll say is, be kind to yourself. And the textbook stories of sannyasis, eating 4 mouthfuls, etc., those are ideal types. You may need 16 mouthfuls. It's okay. Enjoy. That's fine. Compassion towards the universe does not come without self-compassion. That is how. And one is a much better sannyasi if you're able to be kind and accommodative of your worst tendencies, your anger, your resentment, your fear. If you're able to embrace like a mother, then you are a much better sannyasi. If you're able to forgive yourself, you will be able to embrace the whole universe as you. Thank you very much. I will say the closing prayer, and if you have any questions, I will take. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Yeah, one announcement I have. There is a 10-day retreat in Arsha Vidya Gurukulam in Pennsylvania, and you can, if somebody has that flyer, can you please share in the chat pod as I'm answering the questions? It will help me. Yes, Chris, you have a question? You can unmute yourself and talk. I cannot hear you. You are on mute. Yeah.
Pranam Swamini. I
Namaskar.
have confusion with the term soul. What does soul exactly mean? I thought
Yeah.
soul is a Christian parlance. Soul
Yes.
is not Atma. Is soul Atma?
I don't know, because I don't use that term. I don't use that term soul, and I suppose we have to take it as Atma or whatever that is. But I don't. I don't. Sometimes I think it is not Atma, because only human beings have soul, it is said, and animals don't have soul. So like this, it is very confusing to me also. Better not to use that word. We'll just use Atma. Certain things are not open for translation. Yeah, so this is what it is. Yeah.
Dhanyavadaha.
Om. Yeah, so here is this, it's called AVG Vedanta Summer Retreat, and it is in the chat pod. So if you open this chat pod, which is, like a little caption at the bottom of your screen, you can download that and you can register and come, we can spend 10 days together on this very topic, on Jivan Mukti Viveka, how to accelerate how to accelerate knowledge of oneself as free and whole and limitless in our lives. Any other questions? Are there any other questions?
Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah, please. Oh, there is one more. There are a couple of questions. Yes, you can ask a question. Please ask.
So, I used to parent my daughter's parent. So slowly, hard way, I learned not to parent them. So I got sannyasa from that. But now the problem is now they are parenting me. How to take sannyasa from that now?
That is fantastic. That I love this story. So, this is the sad part, is that we don't have control. We would love to have control on other people's thoughts, behaviors, etc., but we do not have control on other people's thoughts and behaviors. So we have to make do. We have to bring ourselves to, even though if they are parenting you, you let them do whatever they want, but at the same time you can just tell them very lovingly, this is not where we are and this is not needed, and of course they will not listen. So you just allow them to be, and you rise above internally, and you can say, this does not affect me, and one day it will stop affecting. That is what I will say. Good question.
Thank you so
Very good
much.
question.
I have already risen by 10%, but I want to go
Fantastic.
100%.
My prayer is that the other 90% happens very fast. That is my prayer.
Thank you.
Om.
Swamini, may I ask a question, please? Hari Om. Okay, so I think you are muted, but you are listening to me. I wake up in the morning with the Pratasmarami Stotram in my mind and my heart. But you have given me a very beautiful sadhana about cloaking my inner self in the ochre robe. So thank you very much for that. That's what I wanted to say.
Zarina, you are so deserving of that. You are extremely deserving of that. Please do that. From Germany, taking the class at 2:30. Wonderful. This itself is a sadhana. Yes, Shambhavi, I'm very happy. Thank you. Yes, thank you for coming. Any other questions?
Hari Om Swamiji.
Yes, tell me.
Sometimes when we are studying Vedanta, we try to, I feel myself different, but then we meet other people, they keep saying, oh, you need to part of the world and you need to socialize. And in my mind, I feel I don't need that. I'm happy where I am. Sometimes it's become too much with how to answer, what to say. I don't feel like explain anything.
Yeah. One thing I can say is that the role is the person. The person is not the role. If you let the role roll on to the person, then you are in trouble. So you can go to the potlucks. Yeah, don't let the role roll on to the person. The person is you, the person who is in orange. Yeah, I go to potlucks. If I'm invited, that's what it is, I go. But so you can also go, no problem. But behave
Okay.
like a sannyasi. Yeah, behave like a sannyasi. And sometimes don't go. It's okay. It's okay to not go. And in fact, you may inspire other people to reduce the potlucks. In fact, the pandemic has been wonderful that way. What potlucks? Where is it? How do you spell that? People don't know anymore. It's dangerous to gather. Now we know that. But the sages in the ancient times knew it was dangerous to gather even without pandemic.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Swamiji.
Swaminiji, Hari Om. I need to say this as you explain, we are not giving up. We are already practiced given up in our life so much. And thank you for explaining. Now I have a better understanding of what actually we are not giving up, but we are just internalize and get rid of our desires in a proper way, understanding the proper way. And everything is, all our action are Ishwara's arpana. Thank you for
Beautifully put.
explaining.
Yeah, beautifully put, Chawla.
Thank
Very,
you.
very nicely done. Nice to see you. Nice to see all of you.
Nice to see you too. Hari Om.
So can I ask another question if somebody has no question?
Puchiye.
Yeah, so because this in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is asking Arjun to fight, but also fight like a sannyasi, or is that right? Or there's one slok, Mai Sarvani Karmani, Sanyasya Adhyatma Chetasa, Nirasira Nirmamo Bhutva, Yudvasva Vigata Jvara.
Absolutely. Vigata Jvaraha means without being feverish about your action. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa. So with a heart that is turned towards me, and with all the actions given to me, you just fight like a sannyasi. Yes, inner sannyasa. Inner sannyasa, you don't need any rituals. You don't need to wonder if you're ready. You don't need anything. You can just go ahead. Yeah, you can just go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Meenal. Meenal has given the website of the ashram if you would like to attend more classes, etc. Right now, we are doing Saddarshanam once a day, and so many other classes are going on. You are free to join. Yeah. Malati,
Hari,
nice to see you. Wonderful. Yes.
Hari Om
Yes.
Swamiji.
Om.
This is Washington. I think it is a wonderful satsang. I finished one and I joined late, but I think the inner silence and outer silence, they are very helpful in order to not even to give our advice or expectation, or where I never went to the stage of I'm wearing inner rocker. Maybe I will imagine and I will do that. But the silence, like we don't have to answer back, and unless otherwise reducing our speech, it really helpful in our sadhana. I really feel. Thank you for the wonderful satsang.
Yeah, very well put. That's why I said, in addition to water pot and staff, you also need a piece of tape for the mouth. So vak tapas, very, very important. Exactly. Shall we close?
Yeah.
One more question. Shall we close?
Just a comment. Thank you very much for the talk. And I said, I also find that when the value of freedom becomes high, then dropping things become easier. And I think that's what you mentioned. And that certainly is helpful for me to remember that the value of this sannyasa or vairagya is you have to keep maintaining that value for it. And I really appreciate the adding on elaborating on that. Thank you very much. That's it.
Yes, that is very true. So, all well put, and I'm very happy that I could spend some time with all of you. This is wonderful to see everybody, and we'll close with a Ashirvachana. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतङ्गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you both soon. Yes, that will be nice.